This question is asking us to give the slope of a line passing through each of the following pairs of points. Give your answers as integers or reduced fractions. If the line has no slope, enter D and E. So just a very quick reminder. The slope, there's kind of two special kinds of lines when the slope is 0 and when the slope is D and E. And I just want to remind you what's going to happen when we go through this. Slope is 0 if the numerator is 0. Right, if we have 0 on the top, then it's just 0. It doesn't matter what the bottom is, as long as the bottom's not 0. But the slope does not exist if the denominator is 0. Okay, and we also know it's bad to divide by 0. But just as a reminder, what we're going to be using here, you don't really want to try to plot these, especially because of the fraction here, and do the rise over run thing. It's better just to use the formula. Really, we could just do the first one because it's more challenging with the fraction, but we'll do both. And I'll remind you, the slope we characterize with the letter m, and its formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Right, so I like to label my points. This first one x1 y1, the second one x2 y2. We'll deal with that one first, and just plug in everything. So y2 is 45 over 4 minus y1, which is 3, over x2 is 16 minus x1, which is 10. Now make sure you simplify each part by itself. We don't want to try to mix the numerator and denominator at all until each is completely simplified. Right, now to simplify the numerator, since we have the fraction here, we need to get a common denominator. And the way we can get a common denominator is if we multiply the 3 by 4 over 4. All right, so just remember, if you ever need to get a common denominator, if you multiply the opposite numerator, which is 4 over here, we'll be fine. You just got to be careful. Make sure you multiply the top and bottom by that. If you only multiply the top, you're changing the number. And then the denominator we can already simplify. 16 minus 10 is 6. And that 6 is going to just stay alone for a while until we're done with the top. So now on the top, we can't combine them yet unless if you're comfortable doing it. We need to simplify this. 3 times 4 is 12. So we got 45 over 4 minus 12 over 4. Once again, that's over 6. And then we draw an arrow just to make sure we can keep track. Now we can combine these into one because we have a common denominator of 4. So we got 45 minus 12 is 33 over 4. And then that's over 6. Now, one thing you should remember about fractions and fractions is we have to do keep, change, flip to simplify it. If you're not familiar with what that means, what we're going to do is we are going to leave the numerator the same. We change the division bar to multiplication. And if we think of the bottom as being a fraction, 6 over 1, that's the flip part. So we keep the top, we change the division to a multiplication, and we flip the bottom. So it goes from 6 over 1 to 1 over 6. And now multiplying fractions is straightforward because you multiply the top, we get 33 over 1 is 33, and 4 times 6 is 24. And this is a simplified fraction. There's no common factors with 33 and 24. All right, and that's for the first part. Now, once again, this was the harder one. We'll go through and do the second one. But if you understand this, you could probably just try it on your own. But for the second one, I just want to label the points here because we're going to do the same thing. Now our slope for the second one, we've got y2 is -2 minus y1, which is 0, over x2, which is 17, minus x1, which is 9. Since they're all whole numbers, we avoid most of the work that took up here, which is getting common denominator. And we just simplify. -2 minus 0 is -2, over 17 minus 9 is 8. And this we can simplify. There's a 2 in common. We get -1 over 4. So the answer for choice B, or part B, is -1 over 4. That's how we compute slope. Once again, I'll remind you, up here we didn't run into it in this problem, but if you end up with a 0 on the top, or you'll get 0 for your simplified slope. If you get a 0 on the bottom, then it's D and E. Just kind of box that in.